Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. Standing by in the wings is Mr. John Cornett. Howdy, John.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Pretty well. Have you had a good week?
Yes, absolutely, man.
Good. And right next door, we have Mr. Casper Leach, the father of marijuana television in America. Or maybe grandfather, I don't know. But,
can't you tell by looking at your high definition set that it has my eyes?
Of course. We have some hemp news for you, film clips. We'll be taking your calls a little bit later on, so get ready to dial up for that. But in the interim, as we always do, we'll bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
You know, we've had those dancing cannabis leaves since, what was it, about 1997 when we won Seattle Times Website of the Week and other things for our crh.org flash site. This week has been historic in that the New York Times, the paper of record for the United States of America, the New York Times came out with this opinion cover story last Sunday. And all week they've been running articles on marijuana legalization. Their headline is, as you can see here, repeal prohibition again. So in yet another sign of the inevitability of cannabis law reform in the United States, the New York Times has called for marijuana legalization. The Times editorial board wrote in the Sunday edition of the paper, quote, "It has been more than 40 years since Congress passed the current ban on marijuana, inflicting great harm on society just to prohibit a substance far less dangerous than alcohol," end quote. The Times editorial board reached that conclusion, the op-ed piece notes, quote, "after a great deal of discussion," end quote. One would love to have been a fly on the wall as the tectonic plates of journalistic history worked themselves into a new configuration. The decision was, the board wrote, quote, "inspired by a rapidly growing movement among the states to reform marijuana laws," end quote. End quote. According to the Times, with more than 658,000 arrests for marijuana possession in 2012, and with the negative results of those arrests falling disproportionately on young African-American men, the social costs of cannabis prohibition are just too steep to continue. The editorial board of the New York Times states, quote, "moderate use of marijuana does not appear to pose a risk for otherwise healthy adults," end quote. The Times ran a series of articles all this week by members of the editorial board, along with supplementary material and website bonuses that will examine the questions surrounding marijuana legalization. The first in the series, by David Firestone, appeared on Saturday. It notes that the bill which declared marijuana a Schedule I controlled substance passed unanimously in the United States Senate in 1970 after Senator Thomas Dodd of Connecticut said cannabis had caused, quote, "dreadful hallucinations," end quote, in an Army sergeant in Vietnam that he called in a mortar strike on his own troops. Firestone writes, "the states are taking lead because they're weary of locking up thousands of their own citizens for possessing a substance that has less potential for abuse and destructive behavior than alcohol. We recognize this Congress is as unlikely to take action on marijuana as it has been on other big issues, but it's long past time to repeal this version of prohibition," end quote. Thank you, New York Times. Well, in Florida, as they get ready to vote on medical marijuana this November, months of campaigning by both sides hasn't moved the numbers at all. A new poll shows that 88% support for medical cannabis, the exact same level of support shown in May. Quinnipiac University Polling Institute numbers are significant, reports Dan Sweeney at the Sun-Sentinel, because two well-funded opposition groups have formed since the May poll. Don't Let Florida Go to Pot, a disinformation campaign from the Florida Sheriff's Association and Drug Free America Foundation, and Vote No on 23, a project of Drug Free Florida. As a constitutional amendment, Florida's Amendment 2, which would legalize medical marijuana in Florida, needs 60% of the vote to pass in November. An incredible 95% of voters aged 29 and younger support the measure in a new poll. Well, up north, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo on Wednesday called for swift implementation of New York's recently passed medical marijuana law. Since the medical marijuana bill was signed into law on July 7th, 3 children who suffered from severe seizure disorders have already died. In fact, in our clinic, we had a patient, a child, die just last week, the day before they were supposed to come in for their medical marijuana appointment. These deaths have made even clearer what we already knew. The 18-month or longer timeline for implementing New York's medical marijuana law is simply too long for some patients who face life-threatening or terminal illnesses. The New York governor's letter follows Monday's meeting between the governor's office, the Department of Health, patients, and advocates from across New York State. In his letter, Governor Andrew Cuomo acknowledges the importance of expediting the implementation process, as well as exploring any options that might provide immediate relief for patients from across this state who are in pain and suffering. Wendy Conti of Buffalo, New York, whose daughter recently died following a severe seizure, said, quote, "I applaud Governor Cuomo for recognizing the urgency around implementing New York's medical marijuana law so that patients can obtain access to potentially life-saving medicine. We're looking forward to the governor now for his continued leadership to ensure that our children receive the medicine that they need. We know that this medicine is readily available. There's simply no reason or excuse for why another child like Anna must die," end quote, Anna Conte's mother said. Well, right here in Oregon, delegates of the Regional Federation of Unions in Northwest Oregon met a 2/3 majority vote to recommend that statewide labor organizations support the New Approach Oregon measure to regulate, legalize, and tax marijuana for adults 21 and over. Jeff Anderson, the first vice president of the council and the executive secretary of the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 555, said, quote, "The Northwest Oregon Labor Council is proud to recommend support for the New Approach measure. The measure would create more family wage jobs in Oregon, keep workers safe by retaining current workplace drug laws, and generate tens of millions of dollars in tax revenue for crucial public services like education and police." Well, over in the mountains in Denver, Colorado, the passage of the state laws legalizing the physician-recommended possession and consumption of cannabis by qualified patients has not led to an increase in adolescent use of the plant, according to a working paper published by the National Bureau of Economic Research, a nonpartisan research organization based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Investigators from the University of Colorado at Denver and the University of Oregon and Montana State University assessed federal data on youth marijuana use and treatment episodes for the years 1993 to 2011, a time period when 16 states authorized medical cannabis use. The authors reported, quote, "Our results are not consistent with the hypothesis that the legalization of medical marijuana caused an increase in the use of marijuana among high school students. In fact, estimates from our preferred specification are small, consistently negative, and are never statistically distinguishable from zero," end quote. A separate analysis published in April in the Journal of Adolescent Health similarly determined, quote, "This study did not find increases in adolescent marijuana use related to the legalization of medical marijuana. This suggests that concerns about sending the wrong message may have been overblown," end quote. The full text of this study, Medical Marijuana Laws and Teen Use, is available online at nbr.org. That's nbr.org. That's the end of our Hemp News segment for tonight. So we have Mr. John Cornett standing by to play you a tune.
Hey, Paul. Feeling a little judgmental tonight. This is an old song by Eric Clapton. Before you accuse me, take a look at yourself. Or you accuse me, take a look at yourself. You said I spend my money on other women. You're taking money from someone else. Called your mama 3 or 4 nights ago. Called your mama 3 or 4 nights ago. Said your mama, don't you call my daughter no more. Before you accuse me, take a look at yourself. Before you accuse me, take a look at yourself. You said I spend my money on other women. You're taking money from someone else. Come on back home, baby. Try my love one more time. Come on back home, baby. Try my love one more time. If you don't go on, baby, I'm gonna lose my mind. Before you accuse me, take a look at yourself. Before you accuse me, take a look at yourself. You said I spend my money on other women. You're taking money from someone else.
All right, John, that was a great rendition. Thank you very much. Hey, Casper, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, and I want to accuse John of being a pot-smoking, freedom-loving, earth-worshiping, tree-hugging hippie. I feel better now.
Where'd your hair go? Oh, well, never mind. There's a little bit growing back now.
Is it?
Yeah, look, you could have a head of hair.
Too, isn't it? You got that boy
Have
band
a
look
hair
again,
if you
right?
want it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think this week, one of the ground-shaking things that's happened is that the New York Times has come out with a whole series of articles in favor of marijuana legalization, exploring how marijuana was wrongfully criminalized back in the 1930s in a misinformation campaign based on racist lies. And so there was a lot of media about that last Sunday when this came out. We have an excerpt from NBC News we're going to run right now. We'll be back in just a moment. Here it comes.
We're back now with a move that is certain to sharpen the debate over legalizing marijuana in this country.
Cars all week. That's the only way you can do it. 24 hours.
Newspaper to endorse decriminalizing pot at the federal level. It comes as many states have moved on their own in varying degrees. We get more tonight from NBC's Kristen Welker.
All across the country, people are using pot with fewer legal consequences. Colorado and Washington becoming the first 2 states to legalize marijuana for recreational purposes. And today, the New York Times said the country needs to go further. In a long editorial, the paper wrote, the federal government should repeal the ban on marijuana. Comparing it to the days of prohibition, the paper argues that, like in that period, otherwise law-abiding citizens today are becoming criminals.
$3 to $4 billion a year is spent on this, and there are like 600, 700,000 marijuana possession arrests a year.
The reaction was swift.
I think it should be a state issue. I don't think it's really a federal issue.
I don't see how there would be anything that is so substantially beneficial to society by lifting a ban like that.
Rewind to 1992 when Bill Clinton ran for president and his use of marijuana was a political liability.
I didn't like it and didn't inhale and never tried it again.
Compare that to candidate Barack Obama in 2008, who openly admitted to smoking and inhaling. 36 states plus the District of Columbia have loosened their marijuana laws, and polls show more than 50% of Americans now think it should be legalized.
We don't care if anybody smokes or doesn't smoke. We're absolutely not encouraging it.
But the Times argues that it should still be off limits to those under 21. In an interview for Meet the Press, former Congressman Patrick Kennedy, who has admitted to battling drug addiction, said legalizing marijuana is a slippery slope.
It ultimately will set up a marketplace for the commercialization. And with the commercialization, you're going to have a marketing campaign targeting kids.
A concern shared by some other parents.
We do not know the outcome, except that the best evidence is that you lose, if you use marijuana as a teenager regularly, 8 IQ points. And I don't know about the rest of the table, but I don't have 8 to lose.
The Times noted there is still some debate about the health risks. President Obama has said he thinks marijuana is no more dangerous than alcohol, but he has not expressed support for legalizing it at the federal level. Meanwhile, 2 more states, Alaska and Oregon, will decide whether to allow marijuana for recreational purposes later this year. Lester.
All right, Kristen, thanks.
Well, that's from NBC News, and I can definitely tell Ruth Marcus, you do not have 8 IQ points to lose if you're going to spread that kind of misinformation in the media. That is just ridiculous that if you use marijuana, you lose 8 percentage points of your IQ. That's certainly not any reputable science.
I'm surprised she didn't come up with the idea, well, instead of making marijuana legal, let's just make liquor outlawed again.
I'm surprised, NBC News gave her, played that clip of that incredibly, incredible misinformation.
You know what's sad? Jack Hare began it 22, 25, 30 years ago. You've been doing this TV show 16 years. I've been doing a radio show since they hung Jesus on the cross. There's been books out there forever. And yet when Sanjay Gupta or this New York Times comes out with a big endorsement, it's news.
Right. Well, it's finally
news.
time.
But we've been saying this for 20 years, paper, fiber, fuel, and medications. And we've been, the ones who've been leading the charge. But when they announce it, well, oh my gosh, then it really is a tipping block. That's sad, isn't it?
It is.
It's very sad.
If you look right on this, it's something local artist Wondernack.
That looks like hemp paper.
Story.
Is that
it's
hemp paper?
100% hemp paper. This is on 100% hemp paper. Close in right up here at the top, as it says, it is fuel, fiber, and food.
There you go.
And here you see some big cannabis plants making the lines.
And the money's coming now, isn't it?
And a
Jobs
big hemp
and everything.
field. Let American farmers grow hemp again.
Thank
our
you.
Future, our history, our future.
Yes. And aren't they doing that now in Tennessee and Kentucky?
Kentucky for sure. I don't know about Tennessee. Colorado, they're doing some. That's for sure. If you have a question for us tonight, we're taking your phone calls. We can answer your calls about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, and helping medical marijuana patients. Then give us a call at that number there on your screen, 503-288-4442.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What is this amazing thing? This is a suitcase, a briefcase made of?
It's hemp.
This is durable.
It's hemp.
No way.
Andrea Herman.
That can't be made of hemp.
The National Hemp Industry Association was selling these nifty hemp cases, so I have my very own hemp briefcase. And inside it, Andrea Herman put all this nifty stuff. I can open it. Here it is. We have, let's get camera to show us in on it, hemp insulation.
Nice.
This is a sample from Hemp Technologies.
Put that in your windows and in between your house. Keep your house warm, right? The heat in?
Technologies.com. Yes,
Okay.
indeed. Or in your car, I suppose.
Cool.
We have a hemp fabric sample from Envira Textiles.
Fabrics made of hemp?
Yeah. Look at that. It's a silk hemp blend.
I always thought that it was going to be rough
hemp,
and tough.
30% silk.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, that is, isn't it?
What do you know?
Then here we have some sterilized hemp grain, a sample of hemp seeds.
And what can you possibly make out of hemp seed?
Nifty hemp chocolate, hemp seed chocolate. I drink hemp seed milk almost every day.
Yes.
And you can have these nifty hemp seeds. I love this stuff. This is probably one of the best foods you can possibly eat. And you don't have to have it in little tiny packs like this. You can get it in a big container and then break it down.
And it makes your fart smell like sativa.
I don't know. I'm not going to test that one. I'll leave that research to you, Casper. We have this hemp fiber mat and that's for also for cars.
For like the bottom of the bathtub, or
we have hemp herd.
Herd. What
This
do you do
can
with
be
that?
used as animal bedding, cat
Okay.
litter. We have hemp fiber, just a raw little
Nifty.
sample. And here,
Yes.
a hempcrete ball. This is hempcrete made
mean
with
like concrete?
this fiber. It's a replacement for concrete
Okay.
that is a lot more environmentally
Is it as
sustainable.
durable?
A lot more, it's more durable and it's stronger
Stronger.
too. Then we have a nifty little thing of Dr. Bronner's magic soap. Of course, I use a lot larger.
And what makes it
containers
so
than that.
magic? Is it?
It's just really good. He's been making
Okay.
it for years, but they just recently added hemp. Here are some hemp twines, all this rainbow color of hemp.
Well, beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
That is.
Well, that's, and then best of all, hemp fiber in the hemp case, and it's just amazing.
Well,
So
thank you for sharing that, Paul. I am
that's
so
what
glad
this
I
show's
asked.
all about. And then we have this hemp case here. This is made right here by the same lady who makes this nifty poster. She has a nice store over in Multnomah, and no, she doesn't give us any advertising dollars, but I just think she does great work. She's an amazing activist. Her name is Wonder Knack, and
Is that made out of hemp?
This is made out of 100% hemp.
No way.
It's made by hand right here in Portland, Oregon.
Wow.
And you can go over there and pick some up in a little store there in Multnomah Village.
I bet they're kind of pricey.
NACA.
Are they kind of pricey?
Well, you know, they're made by hand here in town.
But then it lasts a long time too, because it's made of
That's
hemp,
right.
right? So
That's
it's worth the extra
it.
dollar.
And
excellent.
Anyway, so there we had our show and tell a little early. We'll end with
Yes.
our hemp flame of freedom. Zoom in on
Oh, you
that
mean
camera
this.
too.
Oh, okay.
This is a hemp oil with a hemp twine. This is next week's hemp wick, and this demonstrates why marijuana was made illegal. Marijuana prohibition was never really about drugs. Drugs were a smokescreen. Marijuana prohibition has always been about money and economic and political control.
Now, I
and the
have
further
another
centralization.
I have another
of
question.
Those here in America.
Don't we have some kind of celebration in September here in Portland that centers around this remarkable plant?
That's right, and I'm very happy to announce that this week we finally got official approval from the city of Portland.
Yes.
After a bunch of hoop jumping and other things.
So it's going to be a big old smoke out party, bring your own pound?
No.
No?
No, it's not going to be a smoke out.
You're going to provide the pounds?
No.
No?
This is going to be the only place in Portland at our Hemp Stock Festival on September 28th and 27th, 28th. We have Lucas Nelson and Promise of the Real. Lucas is an incredible guitarist who plays with Neil Young and his dad, Willie, and many other people. He's kind of a cross between Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and it's incredible. The guy can make these 4-foot-high scissor kicks, and he's just an incredible guitarist and a great band. So check them out. We also have, as we do almost every year, Mr. John Trudell and his band Back Dog, Los Marijuanos, Real One, and many others. But what I have to say is that during our Hemp Stock Festival, this is going to be the only place in town where you cannot smoke marijuana.
Oh, no.
Yes, it's
really?
true. It's true. You're not going to be able to smoke marijuana there. We're going to have to ask you not to. This year in particular, the city has been very, very strict.
Yes.
And demanded that we implement new controls.
How are we going to do that?
We've been forced to hire 40 security people.
How are they going to keep 20,000 people from smoking pot?
We're not going to allow it. You know, we're just going to have to say, don't do it here. Don't do it around the park.
Really?
You can do it before you get there. Just don't do it around the park. Wow. This is going to be the only place in Portland where no marijuana smoking is going to be allowed. But, you know, this is also the year we have an initiative on the ballot as well that we want to support. And, you know, we have a couple of videos from the very night that our new initiative made the ballot. And let's go ahead and run one of those videos, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Two states done especially well or poorly from what you've seen?
Sure. I think that in Washington, the bill was fairly poor. It doesn't allow people to grow their own. It limits the possession to an ounce. If you have over 28 grams in Washington, you have a misdemeanor. If you have over 40 grams, you'll go to jail. So this is dramatically better than that. And in Colorado, they have a particularly onerous system of regulation that requires video cameras on the grow site from seed to sale with a video feed to the state store. It's definitely over-regulated. We've seen prices of $700 and $800 an ounce in Washington and several $100s an ounce in Colorado. We're not going to wipe out the black market at those prices, folks. I think Initiative 53 will do that, and a $35 an ounce tax is certainly reasonable, and I think it's a lot better. So that was at a little gathering at Cosmic Pizza back on, I think it was the 22nd, Tuesday the 22nd, the night that that initiative was announced. Now, that's not going to be the ballot measure number. During the petition cycle, it was initiative petition number 53. It'll probably be 93, 94, 95. That number, to my knowledge, has not been made public yet. But we also had Senator Floyd Przansky. He's the chair in Salem of the Oregon State Senate's Judiciary Committee, and Anthony Johnson, who is the sole chief petitioner on the new marijuana initiative that's up for a vote. And I'll be explaining in a little bit, not just those reasons, but the reasons that I 110% support this initiative and urge everybody out there to vote yes and get your neighbors to vote yes, because I can foresee this is it's much, much better than the laws in Washington and Colorado. So we're backing it 100%. But here's a little clip from that night with Anthony Johnson. Here he comes.
Initiative Petition 53, which will have a new ballot measure number come August 2nd, stops treating marijuana use as a crime. It regulates, legalizes, and taxes marijuana, similar to how we do beer and wine. It sets up a wholesaler, retailer, producer, and processor licenses through the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, who will be tasked to making sure that only adults over the age of 21 are utilizing cannabis, and will be responsible for collecting the taxes that are generated, which are $35 per ounce for flower, $10 per ounce of leaf, and $5 for every marijuana plant that's sold. 40% of the revenue generated will go towards education. 35% goes to state and local law enforcement. 20% goes to the Oregon Health Authority for mental health and substance abuse treatment programs, and 5% are allocated towards drug prevention. There are limited home cultivation allowed, similar to home brewing and making your own wine. That's allowed, and it clearly protects and explicitly protects the Oregon medical marijuana program, so it does not impact the medical marijuana program at all. So if patients need higher possession limits, and the recently licensed and regulated facilities through the Oregon Health Authority are not impacted by the new approach Oregon measure. And finally, the State Department of Agriculture is currently had a policy of not licensing industrial hemp farmers, but that's slowly but surely changing. The new approach measure just mandates that the State Department of Agriculture cannot rely upon the federal government to deny industrial hemp licenses for qualified Oregon farmers. So hopefully it'll help open up a new market for our farmers who aren't allowed to currently possess industrial hemp. So in short, it'll end the arrest of arrest or citation of more than 10,000 Oregonians, better direct our law enforcement resources, regulate marijuana like beer and wine for adults over the age of 21, and generate millions of dollars of revenue for our state.
So the first question we have is, with this measure, how would taxation work? And is there a difference between taxing flowers and processed products like hash oil?
Question of taxation. So under the new approach Oregon measure, we tax marijuana one time, and that's after the first time it's produced and sold. And it's taxed at basically $1.25 per gram of flower, $10 per ounce of leaf, and $5 every plant sold. So if you are using the flowers or leaf to make edibles, oils, hash oil, whatever that may be, the marijuana that goes into the product has already been taxed. And there's no additional sales tax, no additional taxes beyond that. We do allow vertical integration. You don't have to be vertically integrated if you don't want to. We think it's one of the things we've taken, like the best from Colorado's legalization measure and the best from Washington's legalization measure, to give Oregon, really small businesses the flexibility to shape their business the way they see fit. In Colorado, the marijuana retail stores have to grow 70% of what they sell. In Washington, you cannot grow and sell. You can either be a producer or a retailer. So that's led to some of the supply problems they've seen in Washington in their rollout. Under the new Approach Oregon measure, if you're a producer who sells to a retailer, then you'll pay the tax after you sell to the retailer. If you're vertically integrated to where you're a producer and retailer, you're not actually taxed until after you sell it to your customer. So the marijuana is taxed the same regardless of what product it went into or what you sell it for. It's all about the weight.
Pay that $35 tax, grow my marijuana outdoors in a big field for about $10 an ounce and process it and sell it for $50 to $70 an ounce. So I think we will see dramatically cheaper cannabis. We'll see dramatically cheaper concentrates. We'll see put Oregon on the cutting edge of some exciting new economic development, in addition to making the hemp bill to produce hemp fuel and fiber and food definitely more workable. So overall, the initiative is a big benefit, so I urge everyone out there to vote yes, support this bill, encourage your friends to register, vote, and get out there and send those ballots in when they go out. We have some phone callers who've been standing by. Let's see if they're still there waiting. Welcome to the show, caller.
Are you ready for me?
Yes, we are ready for you, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, Paul and Casper. This
Howdy.
is funny. I've been calling you guys ever since I first got my card in October.
Well, welcome back.
And so I just went back to the clinic to renew my card, and the doctor was really, really impressed with my progress in my health.
Yeah.
So I told him that I'm going to be growing my own plants, and he was saying that he really thinks that it's really good that people get involved with their own health and growing their own food and their own medicine and everything. And I just want to say that it's been good for me, and I wish everybody would sign that petition and make this thing legal.
Well, you know, we've got, it's on the ballot, so there's no petitions to sign now. So it's up for a vote, and it's going to happen this November. So just stay tuned and be sure you're registered to vote. Everyone you know is registered to vote, and tell them why they should vote for this bill, that it's going to, help put Oregon in the lead when it comes to establishing a new cannabis industry here in the United States.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, you guys have a good night. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night, too. Now, I know there's another caller who's been standing by. Hello, caller. Are you there? Oh, maybe they gave up.
It's our friends at the DEA.
I don't know, but I've been told. If you have a question or comment for us out there, give us a call at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We'll be taking calls for about another 20, 25 minutes, right up to the top of the hour. Go right ahead, Casper.
Since they're not going to have any marijuana smoking at this event, what other new hoops are they making you jump through, Paul? This is Casper. I like watching your show. Thank you.
So at our Hempstock Festival, we need to provide a good image for this upcoming ballot initiative. And so we're going to make certain that there isn't any sales of cannabis in the park. We can't allow smoking in the park. But, our event isn't really a smoke-in and never has been. It's really about educating people about the benefits of hemp fuel, hemp fiber, hemp food, and hemp medicines, and teaching people that it's a useful social drug. Just this weekend, last weekend, I was over at Waterfront Park, and they had the Brewers Festival there, and it was all going very nicely. And so, you know, next year, hopefully we'll be able to have a marijuana smoking section at our park. Now this year in Seattle, they have at the Seattle Hemp Fest, which is coming up August 15th, 16th, and 17th. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, August 15th, 16th, and 17th. It is an incredible event up there. You'll meet 250,000 people who think like you do. And I understand that vaporization will be allowed throughout the park, but smoking will be designated in special smoking-only areas at the Seattle Hemp Fest. So Seattle, they've been doing this for 23 years now. This is our 10th festival. We really had a lot of opposition from the Portland Police. Last year, the Portland Police would not sign off on our permit. And so the Parks Department went out on a limb and issued the permit over the objections of the Portland Police. So this year, the Portland Police went all out to try to stop us from having this event. So we can thank especially Portland Mayor Charlie Hales and Parks Commissioner, City Commissioner Amanda Fritz for helping push this thing through over the objections of the police. And we want to work with them. We want to, they first turned us down in January. I mean, it was actually just before January. Then we had a hearing with the mayor's office back on January 6th. And then we've had constant meetings, and they forced us to hire 40 security people for this little area of the park where the Blues Festival is held. They call it Section E of Tom McCall Waterfront Park, right there at the west side of the Hawthorne Bridge next to the marina there. And so we're going to jump through the hoops to make this event happen. We want our event to continue on. This is our 10th year,
It is,
and we're going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. We're not going to let them stop us.
But
So
let's be a little real here, Paul. You are the nice one, first of all, and you always look for the best in other people. But you know what I think? I think the police department, especially the chief of police, is just terrified of not being able to have these raids now where they're able to go in there and take people's monies and cars and all these forfeiture situations and put that money in
Well,
the
you're
pocket.
right. That's exactly
and
what's
they're
right.
afraid that
It's
they're gonna
always
get
been
that
about
drug
money.
coming in from
It's always been about money.
And they're more concerned about their own pockets than they are about what the citizens of this community want, than they are about the needs of patients. They're more concerned about having their own pockets lined with fat cash than they are about anyone getting proper health care. So I really think that the police department is acting more on a selfish, self-centered note than they are in any other manner, because the community's for it, the mayor's for it, the city's council's for it. The only people who are against this are the ones who, if this plant becomes legal, they stop getting overtime and they got to start laying people off. And instead of getting this extra money from kicking in doors and getting these cars from all these drug raids and forfeiture, they're going to have to go out and get a real paycheck and earn their own cars themselves. That's what I think. But you know, you're a nice guy, and you look for the better in other people. I can't help but realize that your chief of police has his head up his tuchus.
Well, I'm not sure it's the chief of police. It's some people in the police department. It's not the cop on the beat, because we know the cop on the beat wants to see this initiative pass. They did want to see Measure 80 pass a year and a half ago. It's mainly the folks at the top, especially those narcotics officers and DEA officers. It's always been about money and power. Drugs have always been a smokescreen. It's really about hemp fuel mainly, but also hemp fiber, that when it was made illegal. But now the petrochemical companies realize that we're getting to the end of what we can burn and put in the atmosphere and change the planet's climate, and hemp fuels provide an opportunity to reach a balance and in fact be a carbon negative cultivated crop that will help restore balance to our planet. Like John Trudell said, it's hemp is earth medicine, where medical marijuana is people medicine.
Exactly.
It helps restore homeostasis and balance in the body in so many different ways.
And I have a hunch that I'm correct, though, that once this gets to the ballot and if the citizens vote it legal, that the police department will have to start laying people off.
Well, I don't know. Hopefully they can, find their highest good. That's what I hope will happen. I think we have a studio audience member. If you want to come down any Friday night when we're here, and that's most Friday nights, though there are a few coming up I'll mention in a second, and ask a question or just hang out, you can come down to Portland Community Media Headquarters and sit in on our studio audience most Friday nights. But go right ahead, sir.
Question I got is, the police can come down to the park and ask us that smoke marijuana to come do DUI checks, but they don't want to give you a permit.
Well, we got the permit,
but I mean, they give you the permit, but they're trying to stop that and make you jump through loops because this is a stuff that's going to educate on fuel and stuff.
You know, it is the process that we have. It's a long, drawn-out story. I'll put it all in the book someday. But for now, we finally got the permit. Like I said, we had that hearing back on January 6th, and here it is more than 6 months later, and just 55 days before the event, and the City of Portland finally has said, yes, we're going to issue this permit. It was a huge bureaucratic process.
All right. Well, let me beat this dead horse one more time. What if you're a medical marijuana patient and you want to utilize medical marijuana with your card in your pocket at the event?
You will have to maybe take your own medical before you get to the event. We will not be able to allow use of medical marijuana in the park during the event, and that's what we promised the city. We're going to keep our word, and we won't be seized if somebody has a medical marijuana card and they have medical marijuana on their person. We will not be seizing that. If somebody is, carrying something and has a license to do it, we're not going to seize that. But if somebody is smoking in the park, and we ask them to stop and they don't, we'll have to ask them to leave the park. And so that's what the city requires. And we don't really enjoy it, but that's the way it is. They have this unrealistic view of cannabis, and their thing is we've just got to enforce these stupid racist laws. But we're going to play the game, and we need our permit. We can't have our event if we don't have our permit. So we will meet their requirements this time, and once we pass this initiative in November next year, hopefully we can have legal marijuana smoking areas where adults can enter and minors don't come in, and we don't have to worry about being arrested. It reminds me of that old Peter Tosh song, the reggae song, "Me not want to go to jail for ganja no more."
Well,
I don't want to go to jail
I won't beat this
for cannabis anymore. I want it to be legal. Once it's legal, then the truth will come out that marijuana is really good for you, and it will extend your life, and it will save the planet, and it will build our economy, and we will have longer, healthier lives because we can use cannabis. Humans co-evolved with cannabis. Cannabis cultivation goes back well over 12,000, maybe over 30,000 years ago. In fact, agriculture itself could well be based on cannabis cultivation, and all archaeologists agree with that, and you can't often find a lot of scientists to agree on anything. So,
well, I won't beat this dead horse anymore. And for all you members of the police department and those of you who are against having marijuana legalized, who sit there and point to the TV screen at your children and tell your children that they're going to be like me if they smoke marijuana, that's a fallacy. I came out like this because of DNA. It's not marijuana. Just saying.
Okay. Well, now that we've settled that.
Right.
But we want you to come down to the Portland Hempstock Festival. Go to our website, hempstock.org. That's Hempstock, HEMPSTALK.org, and keep track of the coming weeks. And if you want to volunteer, we certainly need lots of volunteers, so contact us through our website and come on down. Now, then again, we have even sooner, the Seattle Hemp Fest is coming up. Seattle Hemp Fest is the 15th, 16th, and 17th there in Seattle, Washington, on the waterfront there. And basically, it is the largest pro-cannabis rally in the world. There are well over 150,000 people every one of these 3 days. Well over 250,000 people attend this thing. And so you want to come to that. And our organization, THCF Medical Clinics, is the presenting sponsor, as we have been every year since the presenting sponsorship has been available. So
and you know, people who know me are just not surprised that I'm always at the biggest pot party in the nation.
I see. Yeah, me too. We have some calls standing by. Let's go ahead and take a caller. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Yes, Paul.
Yes.
What I can't understand is the fact that we have had wine festivals down on Tomahawk Park. We have had beer festivals.
There was one just last weekend, the Brewers Fest, and you know, more power to them.
And
I went
they
to it
had
once.
to get a license. They have an area for adults only. Why are they not letting us have a license, card holders?
Well, we got our
have
license.
An area
they say there's no use of marijuana in the park.
And
we tried to
take our
provide
medicine.
at this park what we called a medication station, a tent where we only allowed patients to go in to the tent and use marijuana. We were at Portland's Tom McCall Waterfront Park for the first 2 years of our festival, but they threw us out because of that medication station, and they tried to deny us a permit back then, 8 years ago. But now, for the first time in those 8 years, we're allowed to come back to Portland's Waterfront Park, and that's, you know, Portland's front yard by and large. And so the real reason we can't smoke marijuana down there is because the Parks Department says we can't. We lost at the election, you know, in November 2012, and because we lost, we can't use marijuana there. You go to the Seattle Hemp Fest, they can use marijuana at their Hemp Fest. If we win this election this November, then we'll be able to use marijuana in a smokers-only area next year. And so we look forward to that day, and we want to provide a good public persona. We don't want to draw negative attention to the vote that's coming this November, and so we're going to be good citizens and represent our community and follow their rules. And
I understand all of that, but what I'm saying is this is getting to a point where are they going to tell us we can't take our blood pressure medicine in the park, our diabetes medicine in the park?
No, they aren't doing that.
Are we free here in America, or
well, you know,
or what?
Like I said, the Portland police did not want us to have this. So the real bad guy here is the administration of the Portland Police Bureau and the people that work with the Parks Department and the Portland Police Bureau.
You should write
We,
them.
in fact, noticed and saw a lot of dishonesty on behalf of the person at the Portland Police Bureau who works on events at Waterfront Park. A lot of dishonesty, not looking us in the eye, treating us like second-class citizens, a lot of insults and backstabbing. And so, you know, we just have to smile and grin and move forward with love and honesty and do what we have to do to tell the truth that, you know, marijuana is actually good for you. And you don't have to have cancer or AIDS or chronic pain. It's still good for you, you know? It's good for you. And if we want to use it, we will, obviously, and we'll do whatever it takes to change these laws.
And it might be a groovy thing with those of you out there listening, were to pick up a pen and a piece of paper and a stamp and write the ass clowns at the police department and let them know how you disapprove
that's the thing to do
of their
right now.
behavior and singling us out.
If you really want to, you know, we want to thank the mayor of Portland, Charlie Hale, for giving us his permit against the wishes of the police. And thank the people in the Portland Parks Department who have worked with us and continue to do this. We don't really want to, you know, the police have a difficult job, and just a few bad apples, a few misguided people, you know, they were lied to about marijuana all these years.
Okay.
And
See,
so
you're the nice
we
guy.
just have
You're so
to
nice.
smile, and show them that everything they know about marijuana is wrong and that it's not bad for you. I mean, you know, if you smoke too much, it'll make you cough too much, and that's not good, but it won't cause cancer, and it'll make you live longer. You know, when Jack Harrer, our friend, first said, you'll live longer if you use marijuana, I thought, boy, this guy's crazy. But it's true.
It's
you
true.
know, it's true.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe after they pass this on the ballot next year at Kelly Park, we'll all be holding hands with the police department singing Kumbaya, right?
That's what it
Kumbaya.
was. You know, last
Yeah,
year
right?
at the Seattle Hemp Fest,
Right.
the Seattle Police Department was handing out Doritos with little
right.
stickers on them with do's and don'ts. Don't share marijuana with minors.
That's right.
Don't do listen to
Led
Pete
Zeppelin.
Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon at a
Right.
reasonable volume. That was on a little sticker. They handed out about 3,000 packs of Doritos. I got a couple of them, I'm happy to say. They were going for $50 a pack on the
online.
internet there for a while. I'm not selling mine. And so it's
$3,000.
It's all going
Okay,
into, I'm not selling, into our museum, along with this nifty copy of the New York Times this week. This is a big deal, folks. The paper of record here in the United States has come out for marijuana legalization. It's time to end prohibition again. We have another phone caller. Welcome to the show, caller. I thought we did. Hello, caller.
Hello, this is Jimmy in Portland, and I was calling to say...
A little louder.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Just speak up a little bit.
Yes, I wanted to say, please, to encourage young people not to use butane to make distillate for the THC. It's so dangerous and unnecessary because it's available. And so please don't do that. And then the other thing I wanted to call about and ask about tonight is a question about the state of legalization in Europe. Which countries do you think are allowing marijuana use in Europe right now?
Well, you know, I'm going to go to Spain here on September 12th and 13th and speak at an event called the Expo Grow in San Sebastian, Spain. And in Spain and Portugal and Belgium and the Netherlands, it is legal to possess and grow your own cannabis. So you don't have to worry about being arrested in those countries. This is my second year. Last year they flew my wife and I to Spain, put us in a hotel room for a few days, so I would talk to them for about 20 minutes. I'm very happy that they've invited us back this year. And so what they've asked me to address this year is advice from America on how to change the laws in Europe. And so I'm researching that. There's a new initiative process in Europe that's coming up. You can find out more about Expo Grow at expogrow.net. That's expogrow.net. And so if you're in Europe, and some of our viewers are, I urge you to go there. And Mark Emery and his wife Jody Emery will be there. Mark is waiting to get out of the U.S. prison after a 5-year mandatory minimum sentence. He's just about to get out. He's a fellow who, up in Vancouver, BC, who sold seeds to people all over country, and the DEA went after him and said he was the most dangerous marijuana dealer in the world because he had been supporting marijuana legalization. He also appeared on this show, and we worked together to put videos on the internet through his website, pottv.net. So I'm happy to see Mark again back there, but there's a lot of movement around cannabis legalization. Probably Spain and Belgium are the best places, but you know, the Netherlands is good, as is
Spain, Portugal, maybe
Yes.
the Czech Republic.
I know things are changing in the Czech Republic, but I can't actually give you a quote on the exact laws. I'll have to.
And
look
how
a little bit more into it.
how about Germany? Any news about Germany?
Yeah, they just are allowing, just last week, have allowed cannabis patients in Germany to start growing their own cannabis.
Super.
And so, you know, it's still against the law in Germany. Switzerland, for a while, it's legal to possess your own cannabis and grow your own cannabis in Switzerland. I went over there and worked in the cannabis fields at a time where they allowed the commercialization of cannabis from 1997 to 2002, but then they stopped allowing the legal sale of cannabis at that time. But people can still possess it and grow their own in Switzerland as well.
Super. And so one last time, please tell the young people, don't use butane to make distillate. It's dangerous.
Yeah,
right,
it
no,
should.
let's tell them
Not
that.
just young people,
Don't-
but anybody.
don't
you know,
use
if you're going to
butane,
make it,
it's
you
dangerous.
should do it.
It's
Get a
it's
license and do
it's
it. There's
unnecessary.
a lot of the
It's a-
butane has adulterants in it, so you got to
Right,
get medical grade butane, and you got to.
Right.
It's got to be done professionally. So with this new regulation here in Oregon, we will regulate the legal extracts market, and it will tax the cannabis that goes into producing it at a reasonable rate. $35 an ounce on flowers and buds, and $10 an ounce on shake and bud trim. So however much of those it takes to make your extract, that will be the tax. And so that's a very reasonable tax. And I think we can create a huge industry with that. You know, we're out of time, though.
Wow,
So,
already.
Yep,
All
time.
right. Anyway,
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Sorry we didn't get to that last caller, our last caller or two, but we're down to just about a minute and a half left. You want to say anything here, Casper?
Yes, timeforhemp.com. Go to it. It's now 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We've been on encore presentations this past 7 days as we reformat from a live broadcasting network to a live streaming broadcasting network. And because of that, we're able to give you content around the clock. Make it a point to share us with your friends.
And support this initiative here in the state of Oregon. If you're not in Oregon, work on changing or improving the laws wherever you are. Find out more at our website at hemp.org. We have 40 news stories we put up there every week. We're going to go out with another great song by Mr. John Cornett, who's standing by here in the wings. We thank you for watching. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp.
The bombs and tanks and riot gas can't keep you from smoking grass. Listen to me, brother, I'll tell you true. Marijuana is good for you. Oh yeah, marijuana is good for you. It's so nice to be stoned. It's so nice to be stoned. It's so nice to be stoned. Gonna sing it from the rooftop, yeah. It's so nice to be stoned.